we see shifts. Things are absolutely differently than pre-2007 in many, many ways. On the financing side, on the investing side, the good thing is it's back to basics. I remember that pre-2007 I could, with all apologies for that, have a battle with a almost finished student sitting behind his laptop, showing me those models and telling me what real estate was worth, making me look silly if I said, but have you ever seen the real estate? Should I see the real estate? So definitely it's back to basics, which is the good thing. What the other shifts we see is, of course, the ugly things I already talked about. Financing across Europe, and it differs country by country. You cannot compare Europe entirely. It's different somewhere, but overall there is still a distrust in valuations, which doesn't make things look good either. Everybody's asking, has the bottom been reached? We know there's plenty of capital available. People are waiting. So it's still shifting. And yeah, where it will end, we have, as I said at my introduction, a couple of years to go. And in the meantime, we see, you talked about it, distressed. Everybody asks me, do you have distressed portfolios? Where is it? And at the other side of the spectrum, everybody's looking for core, but it's especially that middle area in between, that secondary area where spreads are still increasing, people are still distrusting valuations. So it's shifting, but it needs to shift more, at least to rebalance.
Great, thank you. Christian, do you think we're seeing a systematic shift in terms of the market opening up to the non-banking sector and maybe moving something to more like a US style?
What has not changed is the fact that most of the real estate investors continue to use leverage. So this is something that has not changed. What has changed, it will not be news for you, is that there are fewer banks that are able to lend, and those who are able to lend have less money than in the past to effectively lend. So there is room for new players, and this we consider as a fundamental shift, and we think it's a lasting one as well. Are we going to see a situation like the one we have in the US, where roughly 50% of the financing comes from non-banks? I don't know, but there is a huge room for new players. And our anticipation, the research of AW Europe forecast is that in 3 to 4 years, let's say 25 to 30% of the real estate financing will come from other sources of finance, which are insurance companies or debt fund, knowing that most of the investors of the debt funds are insurance companies. So yes, systematic shift.
Great. And Jan Evert, do you see it that way as well, that the non-banks are now in, that there's been a change, and that will then lead to some adjustments from your side?
As much as I sympathise and applaud with Christian's let's say effort and contribution to this issue, I fail to see that the shift is there. I think there are two items here. I think one, probably for lack of a better word, that many banks are still in a state of denial, I think. Jesus mentioned the word frustration. I think I don't think we can see action from the banking side until we've gone through the next phase after denial, which is acceptance and then action. I think we're not there yet, so no shift there. And I mean, we've been talking about non-bank lenders to this industry, what, for two, three years or even more. It's a number of big houses, but only a handful, like AEW, AXA, Allianz. But even that, I mean, I spoke to Allianz, it's 3-4 people on the ground. If you really want to make a dent into this or contribute to closing the funding gap, they recognize that they're not going to do it alone. It's not there yet, and frankly, I'm keen to learn how we can contribute to deploying those insurance funds, because I appreciate that it's an insurer, not a bank, and that you need some sort of other outfit. But everyone is talking about it. It's just too slow, and its shift is not there yet.
Okay, so you haven't seen. In general, do you welcome and think the introduction of non-banks is positive for the market?
Sure. Of course, more liquidity the better. But for the moment, I'm looking at decreasing liquidity from banks retracting to their home markets or retracting out of this sector altogether, of something north of 25% of the global liquidity, as Art's presentation showed.